Blatchford was a municipal airport in Edmonton, Alberta that operated from 1927 to 2013. At the time of the airport's decommissioning in 2013, due to the value situated underneath of the airport, Edmonton City Council decided to redevelop the land into Edmonton's first sustainable community with a clear vision to achieve carbon neutrality. One of the key sustainability initiatives in the community revolves around the District Energy Sharing System, which we'll be referring to as DES. The DES system uses a geo-exchange field to harness and release energy, and this energy is further circulated by Energy Center 1. As construction for the homes began in 2020, Stage 1 is almost nearing completion in early 2023, and I have the director of the utility and the project manager of the utility here with me to chat about it.
So I'll get you guys to introduce yourselves. Christian, if you want to start us off.
Yes, of course. My name is Christian Felsky. I'm a director here at the City of Edmonton, and I'm managing a small team of smart people and trying to manage the Blatchford renewable energy utility you just introduced.
Perfect. And Samir?
Awesome. Thanks for having us. My name is Samir. I'm the engineering PM for this utility as well. Like Yajur was saying, Blatchford is a municipally owned renewable energy utility provider in the community of Blatchford at the old airport lands.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So Energy Center 1 is a key difference of living in Blatchford versus a traditional community. Just high level explanation. Could you guys provide an explanation of what Energy Center 1's role is in Blatchford?
So I think overall, as you said, the vision for Blatchford is to be carbon neutral, to significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And in the process of finding out how the city would do it, we initially focused on energy services such as heating and cooling, right? So we ended up with this very interesting technology, an ambient temperature district energy sharing system, which is based on heat pump technology and gets its energy from renewable sources. So Energy Center 1, like you said, is the first stage of the overall utility. It consists of a geo-exchange field where we drill a lot of wells. We're harnessing the heat when we need it in the wintertime. We're putting heat back into the system in the summertime, and the ensuing Energy Center 1 it's basically a very nice looking a mechanical room consisting of a heat pump, which very efficiently transfers energy from one stage to the other and provides it into the community. So the beauty of the system is there's no energy loss. Energy is generated from a renewable source, and it provides heating and cooling from one system to the residents and the businesses in Blatchford.
Awesome. So you're giving anything to add?
Yeah, if I may add, Energy Center essentially acts as a hub or a conduit between the energy source and the community itself. It's like Christian mentioned, it has the circulation pumps, the heat pumps, takes energy from one of the energy sources, and then depending on how the community is behaving, acting based on the outdoor air temperatures, the loads, it either boosts or lowers the temperature and then circulates it, and then that's how the energy is circulated, distributed, and then resent back to EC1 for reconditioning, and then sent back into the loop. So essentially, it acts as that hub or that mechanical room / pumping station for the energy distribution.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
Blatchford is supported by a district energy sharing system, which is a centralized system built in the community that distributes and shares heating and cooling energy throughout the neighborhood. Sharing energy between buildings can reduce overall energy consumption by 15 to 20% compared to traditional energy systems. The first stage of the district energy sharing system uses a geo-exchange field as its main renewable energy source.
Something of that magnitude?
Yeah, so stage 1 geofield has 570 boreholes. Each borehole is 150 meters deep. To visualize, it's as deep as the height of the Epcor Tower here in Edmonton downtown. So it acts as a battery for the community. So during the heating season, the heat from the geofield is extracted out, circulated into the community, and then in the summer times, it goes the other way. So it's our energy source that gets either extracted from or replenished based on the heating or cooling seasons.
Blatchford's first geo-exchange field is located under one of our stormwater ponds and will support the first stages of residential development. Geo-exchange involves a system of underground boreholes that transfer heat to and from the ground, pulling the natural heat from the earth in the wintertime and transferring excess heat from buildings back into the ground in the summer.
So the second key difference between a traditional community and Blatchford is those heat pumps that we were talking about. How does the heat pump use that geo-exchange field to the full capacity?
Well, heat pumps in general are probably the most efficient equipment to transfer heat from one state to the next, to the other. So heating or cooling down. So the utility provides a very constant stream of an ambient temperature water loop into the community, and it basically stops at every home, right? When then the building, which is being built, connects to it. So in the building itself, instead of a natural gas furnace to heat your home, the buildings in Blatchford will have additional heat pumps.
So it just takes the place of the furnace?
It replaces basically a natural gas furnace and then also a natural gas hot water heater. And then it transfers that energy again, which comes from the utility, to whatever the building needs, right? So heat pumps are to some degree magical equipments, which can move, which can heat or also cool down. They can reverse their type of operation, and they do it very efficiently. So overall, what we are seeing here is a move towards electrification, because heat pumps need power and they need electricity, away from a natural gas use as a fossil fuels towards electricity. We notice that the electricity supply in Alberta is not necessarily green just yet. There's a lot of improvements being made. However, they also do it very, very efficiently, about 3 or 4 times more efficient than any kind of like furnace would operate at.
The first energy center will be the heart of the initial stage of Blatchford's district energy sharing system. Using heat pump technology, the Energy Center transfers energy from the geo-exchange field to homes and back again through a network of water pipes beneath the Blatchford roadways.
So my next question, so EC1, District Energy Sharing Systems, heat pumps, all addresses green solutions for heating and cooling. I know a lot of people are going to be wondering about other modes of green, creating green power or creating any kind of other green energy. Any plans for solar? Because I know that's probably the main thing that we could utilize here in Edmonton.
So we do have a solar array on our Energy Center 1, which you know, it just captures a small percentage of electricity use. So yes, we initially focused on heating and cooling, so basically replacing natural gas and air conditioning systems in a traditional home. But we also need to tackle the plug load question, the electricity question. So there are ideas. The challenge with that is that the Alberta electricity regulation is quite complex. It works very well on an individual home, but there are just the first steps into how can we renewable power like a community. That's what we talk about here. So there are builders in Blatchford which are net zero right away, and they do have solar on their roofs right when you buy the home. So as a homeowner, you don't necessarily have to invest in it. It comes with what you invest in it, but it comes with the home you buy. There's a lot of people in Blatchford which have installed solar. So if you look from the airport tower down to what's built, you see an increasing amount of solar. So we do have green building codes. There's a certain requirements for solar addition into the future. So if you want to come and build in Blatchford, we would expect you to put solar on the roof, right? And that can grow further. Now, that won't be enough to power the whole community, right?
Yeah.
So we need to think about other solutions. Samir's done some work with some NATE students looking at the opportunity for large-scale solar installation. There are some synergies. Solar is obviously the obvious choice in Edmonton because there's not a lot of wind, for example. But so we're still working on this. We need to tackle that. It's going to be challenging in terms of the regulatory, but there are initial steps to get it to a community level that we really truly can say we're like 100% renewable powered, which is a very, very ambitious vision to set in the first place.
Yeah.
Should have said that.
Fair enough. So the next thing Blatchford will hopefully be focusing on is tackling greener electricity, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's the vision for the land.
Yeah.
We need to tackle it. We initially focused, but people need to realize that it's hard work, and it's green energy solutions right now are not the cheapest. I mean, they're getting there. We're seeing a lot of incentives towards that direction from federal government, provincial government, some. So we're getting there that they become more competitive, but it's very hard work to build this out and to follow the vision. So and we also need to look at the financial constraints we have as a municipality, because nobody wants rising taxes. There's a lot of competing demands from our politicians, and these are the folks who are leading our work, right?
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So the sewer heat exchange. It's an extremely unique project, which when I first started, I had never even heard of this kind of an idea. For the people who wouldn't know and who wouldn't expect any kind of heating or cooling to be harnessed from sewer heat exchange, could you guys provide some more information for them to educate us?
Sure. So I guess taking a step back as to how or why sewer heat exchange is a good idea in Blatchford itself. So underneath the old runway paths, north-south and also east-west, there are two main sewer trunk lines that run, and they are of mixed flows. So they carry a lot of mixed solid, mixed liquid, mixed fluids at a constant temperature throughout the year, which is perfect because it aligns extremely well with the ambient temperature district energy loop that we have established. So they're about the same temperatures. The idea came about as to why not harness that energy, which is being diverted to a wastewater plant somewhere downstream. Why not capture the energy at that point? Of course, it's based on the sewer capacity, the old age of the sewers and everything. But as part of the project, all these parameters were looked at, along with looking at what the equipment that might need to go into them as well. So we have, and city's team have gone out to one of the locations where this is actually in operation at the moment. It's in Vancouver Falls Creek neighborhood, and it's been.
So it's already been done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's currently.
But it would be a first for Alberta, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, as far as we know.
Yeah.
So essentially it's harnessing or tapping into another energy source. The same way that we would tap into a geofield, this is another energy source that we would be tapping into, and then heat and cooling.
Same as how it works normally.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there would be the solid liquid separation units, pulling out the liquid, heat exchange happens, and then redirected back into the sewer, and then it goes or makes its way to the
to get treated like normal.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you're just tapping into that stream, taking the energy for whatever use you have for it. Okay.
One of the fascinating things when I first initially got to know about this is, or I noticed is on a minus 25 degrees C day, you are walking downtown, every single sewer gutter hole is just spewing hot steam out. And then it just never triggered or never occurred, but ever since I've known about this potential that is just being, left open, I've always been like, yeah,
That's a good idea.
that's lots
Yeah,
of
that's lots.
why not tap into it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel this is gonna obviously have a cross-pollination effect onto many more potential district energy projects around the city, or you just never know where the impact might lead to.
Instead of a typical furnace or boiler system, each building will have a heat pump-based energy transfer station, which extracts the thermal energy from the district energy sharing system and upgrades it for the building's heating, cooling, and domestic hot water needs. Heat pumps upgrade energy more efficiently than a typical furnace, reducing Blatchford's greenhouse gas emissions compared to a business-as-usual community.
Awesome. Currently, we have townhomes available for sale in Blatchford. I know the answer to this question, but of course, everybody else won't. The goal is to create a fully functioning community. So with that being said, are there any plans for any other kinds of buildings to be introduced into Blatchford?
Yeah, so the townhouses, the townhomes, like you said, is actually the largest product anybody can buy in Blatchford because there are certain densities. Requirements, not only there's environmental requirements, but there's also certain density requirements, how Blatchford would look different than any other development in Edmonton. So we're obviously building apartments, multi-unit buildings, so smaller condos, also some larger condos. And then over time, there's also going to be a mixture between residential and commercial. So the first condo homes will integrate some lower floor commercial, small businesses, coffee shops. But we also have the area, Simia mentioned the sewer heat, which is located in the Blatchford Market area, which will be more commercial office space, commercial space, supermarkets, office buildings. So it will actually look at it as a unique full utility community when it's fully built out. So the idea of Blatchford also in the city plan is to become a major node, and so like where people travel to and from, right? Yeah. So basically that all their needs of somebody who lives in Blatchford are satisfied within 15 minutes of taking up the LRT or riding your bike or walking. And in Blatchford itself, I think you can be very much autark in the end. So you have a nice mixture between commercial, institutional, and residential. Right, a large piece of Blatchford is NATE also as an educational facility, right? So NATE has purchased a large chunk of Blatchford and want to centralize all their buildings and their activities within the Blatchford.
So we'll have an entire campus. Basically,
it's probably one part of the NATE campus will be in Blatchford, right? Obviously over the next few years and decades.
And they'll be participating in the district energy system.
They do.
Okay.
And they actually have their own sustainability goals. So they're also looking at maybe expanding this and to achieving their own environmental visions, I guess, for the project.
Yeah. Sounds fantastic. You basically have everything within walking or commuting distance. We're in Edmonton where we're used to having a lot of urban sprawl. It's quite convenient having everything centralized and really close by for you, right? So I noticed you didn't say any single family homes. Is there a reason why those aren't being pursued in Blatchford?
Well, I mentioned the density requirement. So in the end, Blatchford, 536 hectares of land, 30,000 people. So single family homes won't cut it. Like if the vision stays the same, it always comes up. It's a very sought after product, as you know, but there are certain density requirements, and single family homes right now don't fit into that picture. That might change in the future. I don't know.
I mean, again, it doesn't really fit with our sustainability goals here, right? Makes it a bit tougher because you have more impact.
It makes it, but it's more the question about density and how people want to live, right? And there are certain goals. In the end, it's the market which decides a lot of these things, what's going to be built, and and it could drive some changes. But again, the vision is set by our council, and if the vision is changing, then we'll need to adjust to that.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, guys, for my last question, I don't know how you want me to phrase this. It's the lack of like progress. Is like like when people say that, what would your response be to them? Do you want me to just phrase it like that, or
You can, yeah, I can answer.
Okay, yeah, I'm
I
sure
mean,
you're used to answering this question.
there's, I mean, you know, that's it's not a direct question for me, but
Yeah.
I can answer it. And obviously there are
Slow.
very, very ambitious plans for Blatchford in the past, and the public has heard a lot about Blatchford, and some of the, and I think the initial plans to develop the land were quite ambitious.
Yeah.
In terms of the time it took to development, like you just said, the last plane left the airport in 2013.
Yeah.
Then a whole bunch of things need to happen.
Okay, wait.
Clean up the land.
I'll ask the question and then
Okay.
Okay, cool. So my last question for you guys, there's been a lot of people, whether it's in the news or even with city council, that have talked about the lack of progress in the community in terms of just sheer number of buildings being online. To those people who are not on the inside and realize how much of a constant battle it is trying to develop an entire community with such ambitious goals, what would you say to those people?
Well, I would say, good question, Yajur. I would say that the development timelines are very much comparable to any other development in Edmonton, first of all, right? So 2013, the last plane took off the airport. So then basically a whole process gives to prepare the land for development, right? Which was a lot of environmental assessment, a lot of cleanup, building roads, doing the planning stages for it. Everything needed to change from a zoning perspective, from a development perspective. And if you look at this from 2013 to 2020, when the first resident really moved in, there's also timelines to consider. It's actually right on par with other developments in Edmonton, if not faster. I think the challenges we see, we're the city, we're developing and we're acting as a land developer. So everything the city does is very transparent. Our council has the right to be very vocal about it. There's also realization that initial projections for Blatchford were maybe a bit too ambitious and needed to adjust. And secondly, like I said before, the market, right? We went through COVID. There's always impacts of the land development from external forces the city will not be able to control, right? Yes. So we're getting there. We think that we are at a tipping point right now with the first apartment buildings, multi-unit buildings coming online. I think we're getting there, and that will also only carry the momentum further for more people coming to Blatchford.
Perfect. Like to hear it. Do you have anything else, Samir?
No, I feel like there's not just seeing the construction that you can see or visualize, or actually go to the showrooms, do this, do that, but it's actually all the underground work that needs to be done, laid out. Services need to be going in, designing it with a very different vision and standards. And then it also takes an industry to adapt to this as well. So I feel like that also, keeping that in mind, we are at par, if not better, than a business as usual outside community. And I feel like because city owns the land and also develops the land and also provides the utility services here, Blatchford is a little too much under the microscope, and it gets scrutinized a bit too much versus any other community that was in the southwest or west side.
Because being privately
developed, right? So I feel that also adds an added layer of microscopic management on the team. But
because everything is so transparent with the city, and it has to be, right? Because we're using taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely. And to Christian's point, we have to develop this prime land very nimbly. We just cannot throw away the parcels, the land out for not market value or not the fair value, because it's public land, public money. Yeah. So we have to work within a very fixed structured parameters, and then report back to the council and the public back on those projects. So
Also, a lot of the things we do here, I find, are firsts, right? So that makes it a little tougher as well because you're leading the charge. You're not following something that's already been done.
I think that's a very good point. I think these renewable energy projects, and if this is going to be used for students, there also needs to be a realization that they're very hard to develop, especially if you go into scale. It takes a lot of effort, political support, and financial support to build something like that. Time, I think the city realizes, many cities realize, and governments realize that we're running out of time in terms of our climate problems we do have, and we need to act, and we need to act boldly, right?
Yeah.
And it's not, well, we also need to look at the financial picture of everything we do. We also need to realize the urgency of changing, I guess, the routine of how we do things. And Blatchford is one of the examples, I think, one of the best examples in Alberta, or maybe beyond Canada, to change that mindset of how we're developing the land, right? So this makes it exciting, but also very challenging to work in.
I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that was involved in helping me create this podcast. The people from marketing were kind enough to let me use their animations and videos. Those were not created by me, those were provided by Blatchford itself. I'd also like to take the chance to thank Samir and Christian for joining me on this podcast. It's not every day that you get a chance to pick the brain of two extremely bright people leading the charge in renewable energy.